the petrodollar was born. And since 1974, paper money has graduated to the petrodollar. And once the petrodollar is functioning, the modern Western world will remain rich and go richer and richer. But Pax Americana cannot last forever. Dajjal has a third stage, which is a day like a week, when, in my opinion, a Pax Judaica has to replace Pax Americana. So we have to anticipate that a new monetary system is to come, which will replace the present monetary system. And we are actually living through that event today. We are witnessing the incremental movement, which will eventually result in the collapse of the monetary system as developed by the West. Russia is challenging it, and China is challenging it. And where is Pakistan? India is challenging it. Where is the world of Islam? South Africa is challenging it. Brazil is challenging it. They came together several years ago to establish something called BRICS. BRICS. And the purpose of BRICS was to create another monetary system. I met with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who was the former president, and we had a chat in Tehran. And he said to me, he said, Sheikh, I went to Moscow and I spoke to Putin on this subject. So the idea came from us. That's what Mahmoud said to me. And so now we see that Russia has said to unfriendly countries, you want oil? You got to pay for it in rubles. And they can't do it directly because it will be too embarrassing. So they're buying the oil now through the back door. And as the demand for the ruble increases in the market, the ruble is becoming stabilized. It's a challenge to the petrodollar monetary system. China has said to Saudi Arabia a few years ago, we are prepared, China is Saudi Arabia's biggest customer for oil. We are prepared to buy your oil from you and pay for the oil in Chinese yuan. And after we pay you in the Chinese yuan, then there's a second transaction, that we will redeem the yuan for gold. So China is not violating the laws of the IMF. Saudi Arabia realized that if I ever do this, goodbye to the US dollar, if this happens. So long as Trump was the president, Saudi Arabia never walked down that road. But during the elections, Biden spoke very harshly against Mohammed bin Salman, declaring that he's responsible for Adnan Khashoggi's murder. So Mohammed bin Salman now is at war with Biden. So when Biden called him on the phone, that's a bad sign. And so now China and Saudi Arabia are negotiating at this time to implement this plan for China to buy oil with yuan and then redeem it for gold. And so I have some bad news for you. The mountain of gold is about to collapse. They don't want it to collapse. If it collapses, there will be civil war in the United States because all Americans have guns. They cannot afford it to collapse because if the US dollar collapses, all the other money in the world will collapse. There will be chaos in the world. So what to do? The best way to be able to manage the collapse of the monetary system is to have a big war that will cover it. So while the US armed forces don't want to fight, the British armed forces don't want to fight, the inner group inside, Gog and Magog, they want the Great War. And when the Great War takes place, the whole monetary system will collapse. And they will not be blamed for it. What comes after? What comes after? What comes after is that Israel will now seek to replace the United States as the next ruling state in the world, which indicates that modern Western civilization would be defeated in the war. And what is left of modern Western civilization after this war will not play any significant role on the stage of the world. I wish I had the time to explain to you what Allah has done for Russia, explained from the Quran, I wish I had the time to do that. But Russia will survive, and so too will China, because they're very big countries. But the modern West is compact, tight compact. They will be destroyed. And so what happens after the Great War and the conquest of Constantinople is that Israel will now make a bid to replace the United States as the ruling state in the world. And Pax Judaica will last for only a short period of time. What will be the money that will succeed this monetary system? Answer: Dajjal wants to be recognized as the Messiah. Every Jew will recognize his money is bogus. So Dajjal has to reach a stage where he has valid money. Only then would he appear in person and declare, I am the Messiah. So during the last stage, a day like a week, when Dajjal has not as yet appeared in human form, all of mankind will have one currency. It will be an electronic money. If you don't have the wireless internet, you could probably have cables. And the Israeli central bank, or a central bank controlled by the Zionists, will control all the money in the world.